Have you ever thought about microtransactions and how they could add gambling habits into your daily life? In this documentary, I'll be looking for the psychology of addiction and gambling and how it could be happening in the comfort of your own home without you even knowing. But I'll also be taking majority of my points and information through the popular game FIFA, and specifically the game mode FIFA Ultimate Team. Hi, my name is Sean King, I'm 23 and I'm studying my final year at Sony University, and I'm currently constructing my final major project. The reason I've chosen to look into this topic is because I've had first-hand experience with microtransactions within video games and how detrimental it can be to some people's lives. And it hasn't only affected myself, but also my family financially. When I was 12, I had a traumatic experience with the loss of my father, and so I found comfort in video games. And with everything going on, I was also transitioning school, and I was scared and worried about making new friends. So the way that I found this was to comfort myself by indulging in video games and interacting with them either in school and online. And we found a common interest within the game FIFA.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
To the average person, they would see FIFA as a popular football game, but I will be looking at the fastest growing game mode within their game.
Welcome to the most social FIFA Ultimate Team ever.
So what is FIFA Ultimate Team? In its most simplistic form, it's a sticker book or card collection game for the online generation. It allows the user to mix and match their favourite players from around the world in order to play online with a chance to win in-game rewards. And how can you acquire these players? There are two ways. The first way is using in-game currency known as FIFA coins. You can use these coins by playing the game, and if you win, you gain more coins, but if you lose, you gain less coins. These coins are used for the transfer market. And this is where a user can buy and trade players freely with the FIFA coins to build their team. You can also buy stadium upgrades, managers, staff, badges, kits, everything that's associated with a football club. You roughly earn about 300 to 600 coins per game, and the most explosive player each year will cost you around 10 million coins or more. To compete in FIFA Ultimate Team, you'd either have to be highly skilled at the game itself or learn how to trade on the market with a simple buy low, sell high method. In investing in players that will sell at a later date, I'd personally compare it to a stock market of sorts. Although the highest valued player is 10 million coins, you will also need to acquire another 17 high value players to technically have an ultimate team. However, if you're only earning coins through games and some trading, then it will take you roughly 25,000 games to buy the highest value player on the game. And I can say from personal experience from playing the game since the age of 12 up until now, I have never played more than 2,500 games. That's 1/10 of the games you need to earn the highest value card on the game. Surely there must be a way you can overcome this to acquire the players that you want. The second way is through FIFA points. FIFA points are a currency within FIFA Ultimate Team that users can purchase as a way to open packs within the game. The main difference between FIFA coins and FIFA points is that you can only use coins to purchase players from the transfer market, whereas you can use both FIFA coins and FIFA points to purchase packs. However, FIFA points come at a price of real world money, and the money spent on FIFA points could then be used to open up packs. The main difference between FIFA points and FIFA coins is that you can use the coin currency to buy players from the transfer market. The cheapest price of FIFA points is 71 pence or 79 pence, and the most expensive form of FIFA points is £71.99 or £79.99. However, because FIFA is a yearly cycle game, you will not be able to transfer the coins that you had over on the previous game to the newest game. For example, I would not be able to trade over the coins that I had in FIFA 20 over to FIFA 21. Also, I would not be able to trade over the team that I had in FIFA 20 to FIFA 21. So then it makes you think, with the understanding that the games are separate, why would someone want to spend so much money on one game just for it to be rendered useless in the next? I believe it's how FIFA is so accessible not only by adults but also by children, and how EA have manufactured their game to make the pack animations seem so exciting when in the game mode. EA's method to operate their packs in Ultimate Team is known as a loot box, and a loot box is an in-game purchase consisting of a virtual container, in our case will be a pack, that would award players with items, in our case it will be players out of these packs based on chance. The following clips you've been watching are the craziest reactions to packs on this year's FIFA 21. As you can see, the users that are buying these packs and packing these players are quite excited. So what can it do for the rest of consumers? Through the making of this documentary, I spoke to 10 different individuals to get their thoughts on the topic.
So it must have been about, say, 12, 13 years old, which was FIFA. And it was just one of those where I didn't actually know about microtransactions until I started playing the game. And then I will relate a lot of what I say to FIFA because that's like the only times I bought microtransactions. So I remember seeing the store in there, and I knew you could buy it through like the in-game currency, and then it had like FIFA points as well. And like as like a 13-year-old boy, you're kind of like curious. And then I just remember like going through the settings, and it said, "Oh, I need a credit card," and like my concept of money then wasn't like fantastic, so I just shouted down the stairs, "Mum, can I borrow your credit card?" And Mum said, yeah, it's fine. And I think I put like 15 quid on. But from that first transaction, I saved the DLs because I knew what was good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I must have been 12, 13, £15 like here and there on the game. And then that was like my first time.
Oh, that's a good question. I probably can't give you an exact like day, etc. But I'd imagine it was around the hype of probably around FIFA 15 and stuff like that, around the Team of the Year promo, and I'd say that's like what, December 2014, I think that is. Yeah, and I think I was only around like 14 at the time and stuff, and obviously it's a universal game, so but I couldn't have a sturdy job at 14, so I'd imagine it was only about £5 and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I suppose that was just the beginning of it, because when you get a job, you get money.
You sent that quiz, you know, your questionnaire about microtransactions and about loot boxes and everything.
Yeah.
And I did it, and I sat and I thought, I don't actually know that much about them.
Yeah.
But obviously, I play games. I've got Battlefront 2, and I didn't ever buy a loot box on that, I've got to say.
Yeah.
But I was sort of thinking, I was like, no, I've never bought loot boxes, never ever bought them. And I'm like, actually, I've played Minecraft for years.
Yeah.
I bought bits and pieces on that. I play Call of the Wild, and I bought some of the DLC on that. And then you start thinking, actually, I bought this, I bought that.
Yeah.
Generally, it's little thing. It's not anything that's going to improve you as a player, because I don't, you know, I'm like, if I want to improve, I've got to be better.
Yeah.
Although playing F1, I could do with something that makes me better, because they just leave me in the distance.
My first experience would probably be FIFA. I couldn't give you the exact FIFA, but I'd say good like 5 or 6 years ago. And that was literally just buying packs online, but not like in excessive amounts. Probably the maximum I spent was maybe like £20. But since then, I've not really, you know, been a massive advocate for the in-game like purchases. To be honest, it's never really been an interest for me. But I do understand like the problems associated with it. And obviously, like a lot of friends I know, they do like buy a lot in games. So, yeah.
It was in fact FIFA 11 Ultimate Team when I found out that I could get some packs, because I was already addicted as a child to FIFA and I wanted to get the best players possible. So I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to use that 10 quid I got in my drawer. I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy some Microsoft points. And that's what the old school way of doing it. Before you could do it through credit cards, etc. So you had to go to like Game, etc., buy Microsoft points, put them on your console. And that's when it started for me.
I think the first time I used it was in FIFA 15, and I was just getting into FIFA, but it was such a pay-to-win game. It was the only real way to get players, so I think I spent like £20 or something in pocket money. I think I might have got a good player, so that caused a good feeling. And then I ended up, that year I actually spent about £1,000 on my mum's credit card.
Oh God, yeah.
On the game. Yeah.
So, how old were you at that time?
15, 16.
Yeah.
So I think I was about 12 years old when I first asked my dad if I could spend money on packs in Ultimate Team, which is basically like, as I'm sure you've explained, but it's like an online trading card game where every card is a player and you can put them in your team, and better players will make it kind of easier to play the game and easier to win matches. And I remember how angry I was when my dad replied to me that I shouldn't because it's gambling. And at that point, that was so ridiculous to me, because overwhelmingly it's just a video game was my thought process. So without too much time, I persuaded him, and I put my first £15 onto packs, and probably tried to hide the slightly underwhelming feeling that I was left with the players that I got. But I did feel a kind of sense of, if I could just spend another £10, then that'd be all right, because that's when I'd be lucky.
Now I want to look into the company that regulates the age rating for these games within Europe. They're known as the Pan-European Game Information, better known to you and I as PEGI.
Peggy 3.
PEGI are an independent company that is responsible for regulating within 38 European countries, including the UK. So let's see what it takes to get a PEGI 3 rated game within the UK and other European countries. Because I myself, and I'm pretty sure the people watching this right now, don't know what the requirements are to get a PEGI 3 rated game, and it must be said that FIFA is a PEGI 3 rated game. As it states on PEGI 3's website, the content of the games for a PEGI 3 rating should be considered suitable for all age groups, and the game should not contain any sounds or pictures that are likely to frighten young children. A very mild form of violence in a comical sense or a childlike setting is acceptable, and no bad language should be heard. So, as we can see, FIFA fits the criteria of a PEGI 3 game. But it's only until you look at the bottom row is where you really see where it doesn't get flagged up. As you can see here, in the in-game purchases, it says the game that presents players with an option to purchase digital goods or services with real-world currency. These purchases include, but are not limited to, bonus levels, skins, surprise items, music, virtual coins, or any forms of in-game currency subscriptions, season passes, and upgrades, e.g. disable ads. So as you can see, you're probably thinking, what's the problem here? They state that they're a PEGI 3 game, nothing within the game shows anything that would make it any higher, and they state that they've got in-game transactions on the case as well. But it's only until you look at the gambling square that things get a bit more complicated. As you can see, it states on the PEGI website under the gambling section, the game contains elements that encourage or teach gambling. These simulations of gambling refer to games of chance that are normally carried out in casinos or gambling halls. Games with this sort of content are PEGI 12, PEGI 16, or PEGI 18. So now that we know what the game is, what the game mode is, that it contains in-game microtransactions, how much the microtransactions are, and what the packs actually contain, is this game safe to be a PEGI 3?
Again, like I said earlier, they have to keep like FIFA in these games that are PG, like PEGI 3s. It would be the most stupid thing in the world if you have, like I said earlier, a game where you pass the ball into a net, an 18 plus. That just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Then like, then you might think, oh well, keep the game a PEGI 3, but then if you want to do these loot boxes, then that certain side of it needs to be, if it is classed as gambling, which I believe it is, needs to be like an 18 section where, like, when you go into the store, you know exactly what you're getting yourself into, how easy it is. Maybe like on the front cover when you buy a game, have the PEGI 3 and then have like another disclaimer next to it. Like if it maybe the gaming industry is regulated like that, just so like parents know if they're buying a game for their kid, what exactly they're getting themselves into, like address linked up. But at the same time, like we said earlier, like our parents aren't parental locked on our PlayStations or Xboxes back then. So if you're like a random teenager and you buy a PlayStation, you're going to be the owner of it. So it still is very easy just to like bypass that.
Yeah.
And that is the balancing act that these regulating bodies have got to like come up with, in my opinion.
There should be a warning on there. I mean, the obvious one to me would be, you know how every time you watch football, they go to the kickoff and it goes, and it's live, and then they have a gambling advert.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe if they have like the when the fun stops, stop kind of thing.
Yeah.
Something just to flag it up. But then you think, well, if parents are buying their 6-year-old kids this game, are they just sending them up to their room? They're putting it on. Do the parents even see it? And the kid's just going to ignore it.
Yeah.
I mean, like thinking like that, I used to watch Jackass a lot, and they always had the warning on that: don't go and copy that. The first thing we do when it finished is go out and copy it.
Yeah, well, the main point I would have to make is I think they should raise the rating of the game. I think they should make it like maybe a 12 with adult consent to buy in microtransactions, because kids can go on they might be on their parents' console and they just spend God knows how much money.
I think no one under the age of 18 should be able to buy loot boxes because they are a form of gambling. I think over the age of 18 we should see regulations in place that you'd see with conventional gambling, so gambling awareness and things, a proper spend cap, for example. Part of, at least, although the spend cap was so abysmal in how it was introduced, at least it sends a message to people that, I mean, I didn't have when I was kind of growing up, of there's something that could actually be so dangerous here. If something requires a spend cap that you introduce, then hopefully we move away from a point where this game is kind of just PEGI 3 without kind of more awareness around the issues involved with loot boxes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think over the age of 18, people, I mean, even like Epic Risk Management, my company, like they believe people should be allowed to gamble. It's about making it as safe as possible, and I'd apply that again to loot boxes for people over the age of 18. People should have a right to, with gambling awareness kind of restrictions around that.
I always got to speak to two FIFA content creators, one known as Liam Waddington, aka Vizza on YouTube, with 252,000 subscribers. I also got to speak to a YouTuber known as John Charles, aka JCC, on YouTube with 194,000 subscribers.
I personally can't see a world where, FIFA points isn't a part of FIFA. That's just me personally. I think EA are just a company that's too big to get caught out on something like this, and even if they do, they'll find a way around it. And I kind of hope that they may get limited. My kind of ideal hope that maybe you have to prove that you're 18 plus to actually put an FP. That's for me is like the realistic aspect. There'll never be a world where there's no FP, but hopefully if it's actually limited to 18 or higher, that's the literal dream. If it's something as simple as maybe it's still there, but there's, for what you said, there's a pound sign of how much money that actual is. It's not FP, it's actual your money, and you put it in the game and you actually visually see it. If it's that, then I still think that's important.
It'll take you 2 seconds to look as well. There's like, sex and violence, there's like drugs use, and then there's like gambling. And it said games with gambling simulation, depending on like what it is, must be 12, 16 or 18 plus. But obviously the way that EA get out of that is technically loot boxes, and whether that's in like mobile games as well, and all that, which is very popular in, they don't fall under the Gambling Act. So obviously that's something that needs to change immediately, because then these practices just can't continue for people.
So now we know who these people are and what is determined for the criteria to get these age ratings. But now we're going to look at how the human brain is affected due to gambling. The following clip that you are watching is from a case study produced by the BBC, where they arranged for a gambler called Tony Franklin to take part in a unique experiment. This experiment was conducted by one of the world's leading experts on addiction, Professor David Nutt.
It is a brain disorder which is preyed upon by the gambling industry.
Honestly, I can feel my heartbeat just rising, just looking at the damn thing.
Once you become addicted, it's very, very hard to stop, because you've changed your brain. Addiction is a brain that has changed to become entrained to the desires of the gambling.
So we're going to start the roulette task, Tony.
This will be the first time anyone plays something similar to a fixed odds betting terminal from inside an MRI scanner. The professor says it will reveal what's happening in Tony's brain as he uses a keypad to bet.
And we think there's probably a chemical basis to that. So that's what we're expecting to see, that the habit centers are overactivated in people with gambling compared with normal people like us.
So as Professor David Nutt is breaking down the stages of gambling and how it is conducted from the betting to the ball actually landing on the roulette wheel, I will also be coinciding this with how it is conducted within video games and loot boxes, specifically FIFA.
The brain's not very active. Maybe a little bit here. He's thinking at what shall I do?
So as you can see, the brain is slightly engaged when thinking where to place a bet, and the similarities become in FIFA when a player is determining which pack to open. I will now show you a clip of a FIFA pack opening to show you what I'm trying to describe.
It didn't update right, and I refreshed my bank.
And just like that, in a matter of seconds, this person has used FIFA points which have to use in exchange for real world money to open up this pack. The bet has been placed.
And
that's a huge difference from
indeed
there to there.
Exactly.
So that's in a matter of seconds as well, would it be?
Exactly.
Or?
Absolutely, yes. Okay. So here we see the visual system, the back of the brain here, intensely activated. He's watching really closely. He wants that ball bearing to come down on his colour. And now we look at the emotional regions. And these are different regions activated. This is the anterior cingulate cortex. This is the insular. And these are the two areas of the brain which make sense of emotions. They may generate the emotion he's feeling of excitement. Will I win? Won't I win?
Killed me. Come on.
Whenever you open up a pack, there's always a tell that lets you know whether you've got a high-rated player or not, and this is shown with what I've circled.
As you can see, one of the bars on the right is lit up, whereas the bar on the left is not lit up. So if this happens, you know you've got a high rated player.
Walk out! Walk out! A first walk out, come on!
And here we see very similar picture. In fact, the only real difference between winning and anticipating is this area here. And this is an area where I think we see the sense of satisfaction. Yeah, I've won. That's good. Register that. Start again. But overall, winning and waiting to see if you've won, the anticipation, they're both pretty much the same. And that's a really key point about gambling. It's not just the winning that counts. It's the taking part, and the taking part repeatedly when you don't win is as activating to a gambler as the winning. When you're sitting at a fixed odd terminal, you're getting this every 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So you can have hundreds of them. And so that process can become, in the end, it becomes kind of habitual, it becomes addictive.
No, I didn't! No, I didn't! Pac Messi! No, I didn't! Oh my god! Off! I just backed Messi! What? No!
So as you can see there, it shows that there are similarities between the emotions that go through once you place a bet, the spinning of the wheel or opening of the pack, and also the win and reward that you get at the end of it. But I will now be looking at the gambler's fallacy, developed by Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman. There's many factors that come into play when talking about gambling, but I will also be looking at the cognitive factors. The first factor I'll be looking at is the probability fallacies. If I was to flip a coin 10 times, and the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth time I flipped it, it was all heads. If you ask someone, what is the likelihood that it's going to land on heads and tails, and what would they bet on? They probably think that the likelihood of it landing on tails is more likely because the string of heads is most likely going to stop and a tail is overdue. But when you look into the logistics of it, the likelihood that the coin will land on heads for a 7th time will be exactly the same as what it would be if the coin was to land on tails. This is because it's a 50% chance and the previous flips do not determine the factor of what the next flip will be. We're thinking, how does this correlate to packs in FIFA? Well, packs have probabilities, and the probabilities are determined on each pack individually and what they're priced at and what items are inside the pack. Let's have a look at what the probabilities for these packs actually are. Here's a list of all the packs that are in the game that you can buy with FIFA points. And here's a list of the ratings that the players come out at, and I'll show you the probability of what the packs actually contain. In the grand schemes of things within FIFA, I've only shown you every pack just to give you some context of what the lower rated packs are, but everyone's interested with packing the best players, so therefore they'll pick the best packs to try and get them in. So for that, we're mainly focusing on the rare mega pack, the rare players pack, the jumbo rare players pack, and the ultimate pack. You are seeing the probability for each pack depending on what rated player will come out, but we really want to focus on this section. The reason I wanted to focus on this area specifically is because it shows the 4 highest rated packs within the game and what their prices are, and also what the probability is for a good player. So as you can see with the first row, the rare mega pack with 82 plus is guaranteed to be 92% chance of getting one, and whereas it has 88 plus as a 4.2%. This pack costs 1,100 FIFA points, and this pack will cost you roughly around £8 per pack. And the next pack in the next row is the 50k pack, and this pack is also £8 per pack and 1,000 FIFA points, but also it has a higher percentage rating on 82 plus, which is 95%, and also has a higher percentage rate on the 88 plus, which is 6.6%. Now moving on to the final 2 packs, the Jumbo Rare Players pack and the Ultimate pack. The Jumbo Rare Players pack, as you can see for both of them, and the Ultimate pack have 99% chance of getting 82 plus within the pack. And also you can see at the end of the spectrum, the 90 plus is also 2.5 chance of getting it within a 100k pack, and 3.2% in getting an ultimate pack. The price of a 100 pack is 2,000 FIFA points, and the price of an ultimate pack is 2,500 FIFA points. The price of a 100k pack will cost you £15, and the cost of an ultimate pack will also cost you £30.
To answer your question, yes, definitely. I mean, I remember seeing old YouTubers with like thousands of FIFA points in-game currency, and the thing is, they might live stream it on Twitch and they might be there for hours. But if you didn't watch the stream, they'll normally cut it down, and then they'll lob that on their YouTube channel. And if you're that guy that's like started getting into YouTube or FIFA, and you go, oh, best pack, you go onto that guy's video that he streamed from, and you're getting the best pack every time. You're not getting the 2-3 hour, oh, this is rubbish, this is rubbish.
Yeah.
And then, I remember thinking to myself, like, oh, if he can get someone good, like, surely I can. And then you lob X amount on. But these guys, these YouTubers, these content creators, they can afford to do it, and the views will come in. So again, because they're allowed to do it, I can't really blame them. So it is wrong to like show the highlights of it, but people only want to see the highlights.
Overall, I'd say it is gambling, but that's just through some games where, like you said, these cosmetic items like Fortnite and stuff like that, it doesn't give you competitive. So that's not considered gambling, because there's no element of risk involved, because you get the skin and you can wear it for as long as you want, and you don't essentially waste it because it's in your inventory forever. Whereas these games like FIFA and NBA and Madden, where you pay to base, but still what I mentioned earlier, that if you buy these to buy FIFA points, go back to FIFA again, they give you a probability of something happening. It's not you're guaranteed this, it's a probability that something will happen. So you're buying into that probability, which is buying into the risk element.
Yeah.
And that's basically what anything is at the casino when you go in, that you don't know what you're going in with a certain amount of money, but you don't know what you're getting back at the end of the time. That goes for your roulettes, your blackjacks, your anything, where you're giving the roulette machine, or you're giving the dealer a certain amount of money, and when it's all said and done, you don't know what you're getting back afterwards, and that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
And since roulettes and blackjacks and whatever is gambling, and it's basically the same thing, then surely that's gambling as well.
A lot of these games that contain loot boxes, I think they're associated with like the obsession of winning. People, want to win these games, whether it's, get to Division 1 on FIFA, or win a game on Fortnite or Warzone. And I think individuals are becoming so obsessed and wanting to win and seeking that, dopamine reward after like a win. And these online games are basically using that. And the need and want to gamble and spend real money on the game is like enhanced. And a lot of people say that to be good at FIFA, or good at Warzone, or another game, a similar game, you need to invest money, basically to get the best. And I think another impact, especially on youngsters, children in particular, is the impact of influencers such as YouTubers. That they're role models to a lot of people, a lot of young kids. And back in the day, even when I've been watching YouTube for a good 10 years, and many showing their videos like in-game expenditure, either on packs in FIFA or other games, which ultimately like persuades you or encourages people to spend more on the game. So definitely, and let's all be honest, when we watch videos like that or whatever, you start thinking, oh, okay, that could be me. It makes you want to like go on the game straight after and buy some packs or buy a draft or something like that. And it, I do think they have like a big impact, because if you weren't exposed to those videos, people will think, oh, I've got no chance of getting, Messi or Ronaldo in a pack. And then they see someone they watch on the daily get one, and you're like, oh, okay, I can get one if he can get one.
Yeah.
I'll spend 50 quid and see what happens. So yeah, definitely.
I advise them not to get FIFA points, but if they were insistent on it, then I'd say the odds are worse than you think. Like if you look in the pack odds in the promo packs and stuff, they don't even show the real odds. It will say like your chance of a ones to watch player is under 1%. What does that mean? Like that could be 0.00 go on forever and then a 1. I think they need to release the real odds, to be honest, before you can make a good opinion on if a pack's worth it or not.
I feel like if they disclose it, then a company as big as EA, they're not gonna lie about that, because if they ever got caught by lying about that, they get sued for sorry swearing. They get sued for millions. So I think a company as big as that, they don't need to change the pack weights. They know people are going to buy it regardless, because they know that there's still a chance of like something getting pulled out of them packs. So they wouldn't have a disparity in that, but they can make it as low as 1% and people still buy them.
A whole cultural shift needs to happen towards from these guys kind of realizing that actually they do have a responsibility here, and we need transparency. I think YouTubers could carry on doing as they're doing now, and I totally get, like, yeah, for them it's an investment. But if they were to put a still frame up for 1 second at the end of every video, which just said X amount was spent in the making of this video, I'd feel a whole lot better. Because like I say, and like you've said very clearly there, it's people, and especially young impressionable audiences, are watching like compilations of the best results of spending loads of money, and they will then go and try to replicate those results themselves. And I think again ties into needing to understand the kind of the human cost that goes on here, and understand that what's going on from EA is not right. And what I mean is currently the market isn't regulating it, and YouTubers and social media influencers, I would like to see them take more of a kind of moral responsibility over it, that they're not being forced to take at the moment by YouTube or by EA. They're not being forced to take it, but I hope we see that kind of more engaged with now. That again, I use the word again, responsibility that is there, I believe.
Second cognitive factor within the gambler's fallacy is called illusion of control, and this is where a user may feel that they have an advantage or some power over the outcome of the result. And as we think of the probability factor, the more higher value packs are the ones that give you the best probability of the best players. This could give the user the ability and the illusion of that control. The clip you're about to watch is taken from popular streamer and YouTuber Bates87 as he participates in one of EA's most formidable promotions within the year, known as Team in a Season. He is now about to take part in the lightning round. As you can see in the bottom right corner, there's 150,000 global packs that are available to everyone that's on the game at this current time for an hour. And as soon as the pack limit has gone down from 150,000 to 0, the packs are gone until the next hour. EA's most used promotional tactics throughout the years of FIFA, and this is to use a lightning round, as it has a global limit, and this restricts players from buying packs to a certain point, because they're all in competition with each other from players all around the globe. And this has the fear of missing out, as if you don't have the coins to buy the pack, but you also can buy FIFA points. And because you can't buy coins, it entices players to push towards FIFA points to open up these valuable packs to get the best players in the game. And this gives the user that illusion of control over the result of the pack.
Yeah, I definitely have an opinion on that. It's because for most people, especially for the first few years of FIFA, that was the first main promo that you got. And that's where you first see lightning rounds. You have like the first time you see these massive value packs of 100,000 coins, 50,000, 125,000 coins in store. And there's people like, I'm sure like you and me have done in the past, where as soon as you see that for the first time, you're like, okay, wow, I've got to invest my money in this, because this is the first time you have a chance to get a big chance of getting a good player. But I say that you probably agree with this as well. It's cash grabbing from EA that they do this every hour for 24 hours, or maybe every 2 hours for 24 hours. And say if you're getting say the average person gets 1,000 points every hour and such, and you have millions of players, that's £7 times a million, and that's just in 24 hours time.
You're right, because it's seen as gambling, but at the same time, like I said earlier, this is the perfect time before things are regulated for them to do it. So, like, can I really blame them because they've been allowed to do it? It's like it's their fault, but it's been allowed to happen. And like you said about 100k packs, which is like one of the most expensive like loot boxes you can get in EA. I remember doing that years ago, but I correct me if I'm wrong. I think over time they've made like 125. No, they've upped it because they're just trying to push the boundaries and to see like, are people going to be prepared to pay this? And when they have limited packs for an hour, a lightning round, whatever, the answer is yes, and they will all go. So yeah, like I said, do I think it's wrong? Yes. Can I really blame them for doing it because they get away with it? Not really.
Sometimes it's unethical. Like sometimes they do like announcements on the loading screen. It's like for maybe breast cancer awareness or something, and then for that they'll put promo packs in the store and make a bunch of money from it.
The third factor is selective recall and biased memories, where a gambler will remember their wins but never their losses. And the same could be said for people opening up packs. They'll remember the highest rated and most valuable players that they've packed, but they'll never remember the lowest rated players and least valuable players that they've packed. The final cognitive factor within the gambler's fallacy is beliefs about personal attributes. This is where a gambler will have lucky superstitions that he sticks by, and this could be something simple as blowing on the dice before a Yahtzee roll or wearing a lucky pair of underwear, and the same can be said for FIFA packs. Over the years, there's been videos that display these routines and rituals that social media influencers will bring to the community.
You do with this biscuit is up to you. If you believe, have hope, and most importantly, praise the bourbon, then you are in good hands, my friend.
Okay, let's go into Skapak. Let's go. Down. Bourbon. Up. Bourbon. Let's go. Whew. Come on. Oh my god. The second time in 2 days. Oh my god. Juan Mata. Wow. That is like 70,000 coins in there.
Open a bronze pack. Oh my god!
And now that we have broken down how the brain works and the gambler's fallacy, we will now see how EA market their promotions towards the users within Ultimate Team. What we're seeing on your screen is the total players for PS4 within FIFA Ultimate Team. As you can see, the total player count was 11.6 million players as of November of 2020. And as you can see, between the months of October and November, there was a plus of 4 million players, and the returning players are 4.3 million. So as you can see, with the previous clips, in a lightning round when there's only a global number of 150,000 packs and arguably 11.6 million players on concurrently, it makes it really hard to see why this would become a fear of missing out and urge players to buy FIFA points. Now seeing on your screen is the marketing, sales and expenditures for Electronic Arts, EA, from a fiscal 2014 to 2020. So as you can see, in 2013, they used $788 million on their advertising and marketing during this time, and as the years have gone on, it's slightly gone down and obviously peaked in 2019 with 702 million, and for 2020 it has gone down to 631 million. I believe this is because of the establishment of Ultimate Team in 2009 or FIFA 09, that there's been loyal players towards the game, and therefore the advertising will cost less because people will keep coming back to the game. This is due to EA being the market leaders within the football video game industry. What you are seeing now is the promotions that stem from FIFA 18 all the way up to FIFA 21 and when they've been released during the years. So now I'm going to show you some of the cards and the designs from some of these promos known as Ones to Watch, Foot Birthday, Future Stars, Team of the Season and Team of the Year. As you can see, they use bright colours with luminous blues, reds, greens, yellows, whites, and this is all to entice the younger audience, as we've seen with popular games like Fortnite, Fall Guys that have taken over in the past year.
I feel like they've put more of an effort in, but I feel like that's down to them wanting their audience retention to remain high, because if you remember a few years ago, they had been FIFA 17, for example, and they released a promo every 3-4 weeks and such, and the first one was a below average Halloween one, and then it was a Movember one which had no boost at all, and then that with the rise of Fortnite as well, because that's when Fortnite really came in, the retention rate and the amount of people who were playing FIFA was probably at an all-time low for probably the last decade and such. It was absolutely awful. There was hardly anyone playing it.
Of course, yeah, they're targeting it at they are targeting it at the younger people because they look like more like arcadey and toy. But it's just marketing as it is. Like, I'd do the same.
I completely agree. You know, the sort of marketing side of it, of the game, you know, even on social media, you see on Twitter, Facebook, you know, when new players come out, they're very clever. And obviously, you know, you see, I don't know, someone's team and they've got all these different types of cards and you're like, oh, you know, that looks so cool. Like, I want that card. Even like, you know, for instance, the Champions League cards, they're exactly the same rating as a normal card, but just because they're blue and they've got a Champions League logo, they just, you know, they look nicer. So they know what they're doing, definitely.
Really try. I mean, it's almost like when you're a kid and you collect a sticker book and you want the shiny.
Yeah.
It's that kind of psychology. You know, they're the shiny ones and you want them, and the bright ones, the coloured ones. And it's to attract the children to want to buy them.
Definitely. Like, I'm not a psychology expert, as you can probably tell, but I am in researching for that video. I spoke to two. I spoke to a student and I spoke to someone who was qualified for a friend, and both of them were like explaining to me in much better detail than I could explain to you. But it's basically how that works. And yeah, 100%. They definitely know who their target audience is. I think it works. It's just, 100%. There's nothing really else to say. Yes, I think they definitely do exploit that side of it. Then they know they can get away with that.
That I'm about to break down is from Wednesday 19th of June 2019 at the House of Parliament, where they discuss loot boxes with EA and Epic Games, but we'll be focusing on EA.
You may not believe you have you may not have a legal duty of care. I think you'd agree that a company like yourselves should have a code of ethics, and we've heard a lot of evidence in this committee from Dr. David Zendel, among others, that loot boxes are closely linked to problem gambling, particularly among adolescents. Can I ask you, both companies, do you consider loot boxes to be an ethical feature of your games? Kerry?
Well, first, we don't call them loot boxes. I think that was
whatever term you wish to apply to them. Do you consider them ethical?
So what we look at as surprise mechanics, but I think it's important to look at this. So if you go to a I don't know what your version of Target is, but a store that sells a lot of toys, and you do a search for surprise toys, what you'll find is that this is something people enjoy. They enjoy surprises. And so it's something that's been part of toys for years, whether it's Kinder Eggs or Hatchimals or LOL Surprise. We do think the way that we have implemented these kind of mechanics, and FIFA, of course, is our big one, our FIFA Ultimate Team and our packs, is actually quite ethical and quite fun, enjoyable to people. We agree with the UK Gambling Commission, the Australian Gambling Commission, and many other gambling commissions that they aren't gambling. And we also disagree that there's evidence that shows it leads to gambling. Instead, we think it's like many other products that people enjoy in a very healthy way, and like the element of surprise.
Okay, so just to be absolutely clear, your loot boxes or surprise mechanics, you have no ethical qualms whatsoever with?
So I think you're recharacterizing my language. What I said is I think the way we've implemented our FIFA Ultimate Team packs is ethical.
Okay, other than FIFA and other games that you provide, are you equally comfortable and relaxed about
For all of the games we have on the market that have a randomized content mechanic, a surprise mechanic, a loot box, I have no qualms that they are implemented in an unethical way.
What you've just watched there is Kerry Hopkins, Vice President of EA's legal team, compare their packs or their surprise mechanics to a Kinder Egg, which is 85p in the UK, whereas the FIFA points consist from 79p to £80 at maximum.
In the interview, I seen the Scottish MP like try and just get more from this girl who must be like a lawyer or someone quite high up. I just think it's farcical that she can compare a Kinder Egg, which like a Kinder Egg you pay like £1 less than £1. You can only win 4 prizes, you can buy 4 Kinder eggs in Woolworths 10 years ago. You complete it. Like, it's not, you can't compare that surprise function to what they're doing in loot boxes. I think they know deep inside it's not on. I think they called it a surprise mechanic. Is that the phrase they used?
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you're a parent and like your son or your daughter spent X amount on the game and their surprise mechanic was losing $5,000, like, what kind of surprise is that? There's no guarantee. Kinder eggs are £1. You can spend easily as much as you want in a night. And if a teenager or whoever gets it and just keeps on pressing spend, they won't know any different. I think it's like incomparable.
I don't know how they actually got this far. Simple as that. Like, I don't know how they got this far. I don't know how you can go. Was it the Lords, House of Commons? Where was it? Wherever it was, it's a upper echelon. Like, serious when you get there. I can't believe they said that and it's actually gone this far. They should have just laughed in their face. Like, the entire aspect of a Kinder Egg or LOL is that you are not buying it because of the toy, really. Maybe LOL, but a Kinder Egg, you're not buying it because of the toy. Just a little, little, oh, there's something inside it. Like, it's just to make it more marketable. It's a USP. It's a unique selling point, you know, and that's the unique selling point. Is that, hey, look, you got a toy in it, and it's and it'd be fun for 5 minutes, and then that's it. It's like saying McDonald's Happy Meals are price mechanics, because you may never know what you get in it. You may just get a random toy and you don't know what it is, even though there's an option between 1 and 4. Kinder Eggs is an option between 1 and 10, maybe less. I don't actually know. I don't buy Kinder Eggs. I don't eat that shit. But like, I don't know how they just didn't laugh in their face, seriously. And again, the price of it, and you tell me if there's a single person out there which collects and gambles and Kinder Eggs to try and find the rarest toy inside a Kinder Egg. I'm sure it doesn't exist. Like, I don't think there's any resellability with that kind of.
I think at the moment the UK Parliament are reviewing a potential ban of like in-game gambling for children, and then I guess that would make games like FIFA just increase the R rating to 18 or 15 or something, which I think is probably a better way to go around it, because children can't go and buy the game unless they're adults, or sorry, their parents, grant them, or go and get the game for them or whatever. So I do think stuff is happening at the moment, and to be honest, if you'd ask, I don't know, just an average person, do you think buying FIFA points or whatever inside a game is an act of gambling? Most people just think no, but it is. Like, it actually is when you think about it. But because you're not in a casino or you're not on a bet and that, people just don't really perceive it as gambling, and they don't even realize that some people may have an addiction. And so I think the awareness is definitely needs to be made more clearly, and obviously to try and protect children from this exposure and reduce the risks of them developing gambling addictions when they're older, because when you're being exposed at such a young age, not many even realizing what's going on. And it's not just for children, it's adults, young adults as well. So yeah, I do think some things will change, and how that would affect the games. I still think there should be options to buy things in a game, and I don't see a problem with that. It's just how it's managed, or a bit more protection. You can only buy this if you're 18 plus or something like that, and you need verification and things like that. So yeah, I can see things change in the future, definitely.
Okay, I'll ask your question, but let me follow up on that. Holland and Belgium, or the Netherlands and Belgium, have classified these surprise mechanics as gambling, haven't they?
Belgium and Netherlands have taken a different view from every other gambling commission in the world.
Okay, why then would two of our European neighbours take that view?
They have different gambling laws, and in fact, I'm not sure how familiar you are with their views, but their views as to why these mechanics violate their laws are different. They're not the same view. They both have a very different interpretation, and they have a different law. And they decided, the regulator, not the courts, decided that under their local law, these mechanics under certain circumstances violate the law.
And it was violating the law because it was you're able, or a player was able to cash out in-game items for real world value. Is that right?
Would you like me to get into the interpretation? The Belgian, no, that was not their view. Their view was that any loot box mechanic, any randomized content mechanic, if you paid for it, automatically violated the law. It didn't matter if there was external game sale. The Dutch take a very different view, and they say both paid and unpaid loot box mechanics violate the law, but only if they can be traded. So there what you're seeing is regulators making an interpretation under the local law that's quite different than what every other regulator in the European Federation of Gambling Regulators have decided.
And sorry, just for the record on this, I mean, you said they were different interpretation. Both regulators interpreted loot boxes as giving games a chance in the context of FIFA 18.
They did, but for different reasons under different laws.
Definitely. I think like Belgium's obviously such a small country, but an important but it made the steps and it made people sort of take notice. Netherlands, is an even bigger country, and if Netherlands is to ban it, with everything that's going on in the UK and this call to evidence that's been submitted, I really do think it's only a matter of time before. I think like a Germany, a France, an Italy, or a United Kingdom, just that slightly bigger country, more powerful country, makes that statement to be like, oh, we're banning this, then they know they're in trouble. Yeah. I think they can't continue. I think if the UK bans it, it's huge, absolutely huge, because we're a massive market for them. So yeah, I do think that they've started the ball rolling, and I honestly, I said it in yesterday's video, I said 10 years, like in terms of 10 years, I think we'll look back and be like, what was going on? But hopefully it could be sooner. Hopefully we're sitting here in 2-3 years and we're like, do you remember when like it just used to be normal for like 12-year-olds to just gamble away like their birthday money on Ultimate Team, and how weird was that? So yeah, I do think it will start something.
The Netherlands also kind of brought in restrictions and asked them to change the way that the game worked, and I think that it's going to be a country by country thing, because there's, again, no indication from EA that they're going to change the way that their main moneymaker works. I mean, as I'm sure you're aware, the game accounts for 30% of EA's total revenue. Yeah. And that's massively, massively down to the loot box structure and packs as opposed to game sales. Yeah. And I think no one under the age of 18 should be able to buy loot boxes because they are a form of gambling. I think over the age of 18, we should see regulations in place that you'd see with conventional gambling. So gambling awareness and things, a proper spend cap, for example. Part of, at least, although the spend cap was so, abysmal in how it was introduced, at least it sends a message to people that, I didn't have when I was kind of growing up, of there's something that could actually be so dangerous here. If something requires a spend cap that you introduce, then hopefully we move away from the point where this game is kind of just Peggy 3 without kind of more awareness around the issues involved with loot boxes. Yeah. So yeah, I think over the age of 18, people, even like Epic Risk Management, my company, like they believe people should be allowed to gamble. It's about making it as safe as possible, and I'd apply that again to loot boxes for people over the age of 18. People should have a right to, with gambling awareness kind of restrictions around that.
Sorry, Brendan.
Okay, and so those mechanics are still available in the UK, is that right?
Both mechanics.
Yeah, and is there any evidence of players re-registering to play in other jurisdictions? So UK players or players from other European countries registering to play in Belgium or Holland, where these things don't apply?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Okay. Is there any evidence of game players registering from outside Holland or Belgium to play from Holland and Belgium to avoid the loot box?
Well, in the Netherlands, we still, all of our mechanics are still available in the Netherlands. So the only change we've made is that we no longer sell FIFA points in Belgium because that is the virtual currency used to purchase with money our FIFA packs. So in Belgium, after discussions with the government and the regulator, we made a business decision to turn off the sale of points in Belgium. That's the only change we've made. I have no evidence that anybody has re-registered in a different country to avoid that, no. And because it's around purchase, I think it would be difficult because it's a purchase. So you have a country that you're located in that your credit card is attached to, right?
Okay. So should we take it then that the response of your company would be that a government would have to make a ruling and legislate against something before you will take action?
I think that's a really broad mischaracterization. Yes. So, we had 2 regulators in 2 countries who, under their local laws, had an interpretation of the law. One, we ultimately decided to make a change in our game for business reasons. The other, we are still in discussions both directly and with the industry because we disagree with the interpretation the regulator has made. There is a law. Neither of these laws have been tested by the court, or the interpretations have not been tested by the court. But I don't know if that answers your question.
I'm not sure that it does, but could I move on? We'll probably come back to
for
this.
Sure.
But the initial question about the ethics of, I don't know what you call them, let's call them loot boxes, let's call them surprise mechanics. Do you have ethical qualms? Do you think they're an ethical feature of the game?
I personally do not have ethical qualms with that, but Fortnite also does not have those kind of surprise packs or loot crate mechanics. All of our cosmetic purchases show what you're purchasing up front, and it's a pretty open transaction for those types of in-game items.
Are you comfortable with the ability to resell in-game purchases in the real world? Is that something you encourage, or is it something you discourage, or you don't take a view on?
It's absolutely prohibited. It's prohibited by our terms. We have technical measures in the game to stop it. As I mentioned earlier, we ban thousands of people every year who give us... Well, people also break into government data, and we don't want that to happen. What I'm telling you is we put every lock and protection in place to make sure it doesn't happen. There's no incentive for it to happen. It's bad for us. It's bad for our players. I personally have supported both the UK Gambling Commission and the FBI in going after people who do this. So we take it very seriously.
As you can see from that following questioning about whether people selling outside of the game will be harmful to the players or to the game, Kerry Hopkins has stated that it's strictly prohibited within the game and outside of the game also. But now we'll take you on to an issue that surfaced March 2021, and this is known as EA Gate. Gate, in its simplistic form, is EA have discovered some questionable activity in an investigation of allegations that a staff member has converted FIFA 21 Ultimate Team cards up to £1,000 in real world money. This surfaced on Twitter in March 2021, and this consisted of Twitter DMs, WhatsApp messages and Discord messages that confirmed what was being sold to the consumer directly and how much for. Also video evidence of the players being on an account and showing that they are untradeable, therefore have not been bought with coins and would either have to be packed or transferred onto the account, which is highly prohibited to transfer any players onto an account. Fortunately, this isn't the first time that outside factors have affected the game directly. A few years ago in FIFA 13, users were able to buy coins directly from websites where they would mine the coins from the data and sell them for profit. In these following pictures, you are seeing the conversations between consumers and the EA staff member in question, and as you can see, they're asking for their ID and showing them that they've done this for multiple consumers. So this is a direct violation of EA's terms of service, directly affecting the game from outside factors. This then begs the question as to why users would be willing to pay up to €1,700, £1,450 and $2,000 to buy these players directly from an EA staff member rather than pack them as they were intended to, as the game is built on. Although these are extreme cases of people spending extremely large amounts of money to buy these players, it does show that they will go the lengths to buy a player no matter the price, as long as they can buy them directly rather than going through the surprise mechanic system. What's in store for FIFA in the future games is still untold, but this surely cannot keep happening, as this could bring an unfair advantage to users and also take the enjoyment out of the game for others.
Realistically then, what have you done to prevent it happening other than banning people?
I can't tell you all the technical measures we have in our game because that would give the bad guys some information that they would love to use to exploit. But as I said, I worked for 3 years on a case with the FBI to stop this from happening, and several people went to jail. We take it very, very seriously. We have a 24/7 security staff who's monitoring activity to be sure that people aren't engaging in this type of behavior in our game.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Now we will recap with our interviewees that have taken part during this documentary and how they would implement changes to make it a safer place for all consumers.
Time. I don't know if the UK is going to be the next one or the last one. Like, major countries are not to do it, but over time there will be a regulating body that steps in and like helps, because there's too many stories of people spending money they don't have, and it just has to be addressed. Like, you hear too many times, like I said, it's definitely, if if people don't step in, like government, these regulating bodies, like if it's not classed as gambling, then EA and all these game companies will continue to make millions upon billions of money, and your average person that wants to play will put money in. You like to think that most people that play, like when I played or when you played, we didn't go like massively over the top and try and do what we thought was right. But you will get these people that, or these children or teenagers that don't know what they're doing, spend loads and loads of money. I mean, when I worked in the bank, I remember I'd have like mums come in and say, "Oh, what's this Microsoft come out on my credit card? What's this PlayStation Network come out?" And I remember explaining to them what it was, and they would go, "Oh, it's my son, it's my daughter. They're spending money," and like it can snowball into some really bad things. Not just children or teenagers doing it, even husbands or wives that just get so addicted in playing the game. They're spending money on all the in-game currency, and it can and does lead to some real problems. And then that can affect your mental health in a bad way. So it's just a sign that really needs to be addressed sooner rather than later.
They need to put warnings out. You know, they need to make it public. Yeah, this is a part of the game. You know, if you've got children or whatever, you might want to sit with them. You might want to just keep an eye on that. And I don't know, people enjoy it, and I'm a bit like, why ban it if people enjoy it?
Yeah.
You know, it's not for me, as I've said, but if people do.
I mean, it could, but then the mindset you're in when you're buying them is literally just FIFA. I don't think it transitions into me wanting to have a football bet or me wanting to like gamble on like horse racing and that. But I suppose it is an aspect of gambling. But the way I've always seen it is you're buying it just to get more coins. I don't think it's like gambling in a sense, but obviously it can target some people. But I think 99% of people know what they're doing, and they know that like the money they're putting in, like what you're doing is just to get coins and stuff. So it's only the minority of 1%, which I think sometimes you can't just stop everything just because we're 1% of people. So sometimes like you just have to put in other restraints. So obviously like parents have to come in and stuff like that. So I don't think that they should get rid of it, but maybe they could more stuff could be done.
It's difficult for these sport games, I think, because I can't see a world where a football game, a universal game, can be given a PEGI rating of anything above 12, because Ultimate Team, where you buy this stuff, is a feature within the actual game. And there's many other aspects outside of Ultimate Team where you can use your career mode, your kickoff, your tournaments, your Champions League and stuff like that. And that doesn't simulate gambling in any way or anything like that. So I feel like that, yes, I do agree that the gambling aspect, if it was solely just put your money in here and gamble away, because I know a lot of people that only play FIFA 21 or FIFA 20 for pro clubs, stuff like that, and that you don't, to my knowledge, you don't spend any money on pro clubs. And so I feel like that the PEGI rating for FIFA, for example, is fine the way it is, but I feel like there should be a warning when you log into Ultimate Team for the first time to say, maybe get your parents to consent to this, or watch your parents' email and stuff like that, so the parents can read through. Because anyone from, I don't think any 3-year-olds will be playing FIFA, but anyone up until 16 or something like that, when you can get a job and you can have your own money, they don't really understand that once you're really hooked into this, and you spend your your £5, but then you get something good, it's in your head when I'll put more money in, I'll get these players, I'll put more, etc. And then it becomes a habit. So I feel like there needs to be a warning going into the game.
There needs to be a bit more security, I think, definitely. I don't really like the way it saves your card details anyway on PlayStation, because sometimes you completely forget, and then they'll charge you something, and you're like, oh, I completely forgot about this.
Yeah.
But they can't go they can't go put up like a solid wall and prevent people doing all this stuff, because at the end of the day, it might become a toxic environment and takes away the fun for the vast majority of their customers who don't have an addiction. Not, I don't know what the percentage would be. Someone would have to do a study. There's not enough research into this at the moment, but they're just, and at the end of the day, they're selling a product, you know what I mean? And they're only going to change what they're doing if government regulation makes them do it. Or they can only change a few things just to make themselves look better. Because at the end of the day, they're there they want to make money, and they're not going to keep putting all these things in just to look good and try and reduce it by a small percentage, which it probably will. So it's very difficult, going forward. I just think there needs to be a lot more research. You're doing it, for example, and it's a very interesting topic because most people aren't really aware about it. And to be honest, I wasn't too, aware about gambling, really. I didn't really ever think about it in that sort of way. So yeah.
I hope it's not all just loot box. Well, I hope it's easier to play the game without buying loot boxes. But until the government opens their eyes to what's happening with kids spending all this money, then it's not going to change. I don't think the government takes it seriously enough at the moment. It's just a game.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been taken to court so many times with valid cases against them, and they've got no chance, really.
Just imagining a world without FIFA points, and even though that makes me extremely happy, I kind of don't know the odds of that, and I know it's very, very slim. EA are the company they are, the organization they are for a reason. They are extremely smart at lawyers and business, and they know what to do in terms of marketing, get the absolute most out of their investments, the most out of their product. And if Belgium's already done it, and that was massive, because then that means that they do think it is. And that means that if one country thinks that it is gambling, then that means that others will as well. Now, Netherlands, America, Canada, France, England now getting aboard. EA are now worrying. We know this because literally 2 days ago they put in, which of course you've probably seen, the FIFA point limits in the game. Which of course, if they're saying the game is Kinder eggs and it's not a form of gambling, then why would you be putting limits in a game which you would see for 18 plus gambling websites? You would see it's in the same aspect as a deposit limit. When you go on Ladbrokes, you have an option to set a deposit limit for a certain length of time. If it's for a week or a month, you can put only £100, and that is your limit, and that you can't put any more money than that
until that time limit is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, EA's done this, which, of course, I'm sure that John said, which is just, for me, just proof of guilt, or proof of the fact that they do see it as a form of gambling. And, of course, because of all these lawsuits, it's just a way to cover their because they could say in court that, oh, but we have this. Of course, this thing has been in play for 10 plus years. It's not because this is different. FIFA points are the same it's always been for the last 6 years at least since it's been in place, since FIFA 14. So it's not like this is something new. It's the same thing. And now suddenly, because all these lawsuits are now saying, okay, well, we've had this limited. And it's just to save the case. It's just to save the man. I would love to see EA crash and burn, because I just think that these practices is just predatory, absolutely predatory. And I just want to see people just enjoy the game and not having to worry about how big someone's bank account is, really.
Yeah.
So I can't see a world without fewer points. They probably will find a way to get around it. But I think it'd be amazing if there was a way that you have to show that you're 18 or higher.
I think it's the same. I think, unfortunately, people don't have supportive homes. A lot of people, and that can be shown in a number of different ways, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be that, like, you know as much as I do, man. I have to educate on you. There'll be parents that are just negligent to it, parents that don't think about it, parents that just like, oh, well, the kid shuts up for half an hour if we put him on FIFA, and then suddenly the kid's sitting there and he's getting obsessed with all these like shiny packs coming up, and he's got his phone up here and he's watching like streamer packing everybody amazing, and he's sitting there doing the same. So I don't know. I think that, yes, it's becoming more like, actually, to answer your original question, yes, I think people are becoming more aware, but the market has grown so much, right? So although more people are becoming more aware, there's so many more people. So actually there's so many more numbers of people who aren't aware at all, because I think, back when you were a kid playing like on your PlayStation 2, I think maybe this was just me, but like not every house had a PlayStation. Like I remember getting a PlayStation 2 and I was like one of my only friends, and then they got one, like an Xbox 360. And now it's kind of like every kid that's privileged enough has like a Xbox or a PS3 or PS4. So they're in more homes. So although more people are becoming aware of it, there's a bigger market and there's more people that need to become aware. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's a big point for parents as well. It's something that you see a lot when there's issues where kids spend money on their parents' credit cards, which at least for me, like wasn't something that I did. But that happens, I think, because parents make that one-time purchase and then they don't realize kind of even instances where the child doesn't actually realize that they're even spending real money because the card's still on there. And that reminds me of something which is a few years ago, and you might remember this because it went viral on Twitter. There was a picture of a mum, and she had like her kid, a 7-year-old, I think, in the foreground, looking very distinctly unhappy, basically saying that the kid had said hackers had taken thousands of pounds of the money and spent them on packs.
Yeah.
And it went viral because it was so obvious to the kind of gaming FIFA community, to people, that the kid had gone and spent the money himself and it wasn't hackers at all.
Yeah.
And actually, there's a really sinister undertone there. That's just another actually very sad story of one of the many issues around loot box gambling.
Brings to the end of this documentary. As you can see, it sparks up a lot of opinions and debates, but I hope with the information and insight that I've shown you, it's given you a bit more awareness to the topic and it needs to be discussed. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.